Decades after he first entered politics, Joe Biden's election victory was the realisation of a long-held dream.
I pledge to be a president who seeks not to divide, but unify.
America's oldest ever president started out as one of its youngest senators, winning his seat just ahead of his 30th birthday, the minimum age required to enter the Senate.
I expect these fellas are going to eventually judge me on my merit, not on my age.
But professional success was soon overshadowed by personal tragedy. When his wife Nelia and baby daughter Naomi were killed in a car crash, which also injured his 2 young sons.
It made him the most empathetic politician imaginable. When people would speak to him about a tragedy and he would commiserate with them, they knew that he had felt this horrible tragedy and pain.
Joe Biden remarried, had a daughter, and stayed on as a senator for Delaware for 36 years. His first attempt at becoming president in 1988 came to an end due to a plagiarism scandal.
And it makes me angry. I'm angry with myself.
He tried again 20 years later, losing the Democratic nomination to Barack Obama before becoming his running mate.
The best vice president America's ever had, Mr. Joe Biden.
He decided against entering the race in 2016 while grieving the death of his son Beau from brain cancer.
He's the one who wanted me to stay engaged, made me promise me, Dad, promise me, Dad.
4 years later, he fulfilled that promise, taking on President Donald Trump.
Americans who voted for Joe Biden, not wholly, but many, voted for him simply because they were tired of the Trump presidency. And Biden presented himself as an alternative.
Make no mistake, this election was stolen from you, from me, and from the country.
Donald Trump's false claims of a stolen election sparked the January 6 attack on the US Capitol.
I, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., do solemnly swear.
But it didn't stop Congress from certifying Joe Biden's victory.
Democracy is fragile. And at this hour, my friends, democracy has prevailed.
The president focused on trying to move the US past the COVID-19 pandemic. He chalked up legislative victories on infrastructure spending and manufacturing, and oversaw the AUKUS agreement, under which Australia will obtain nuclear-powered submarines.
I want to thank that fellow down under. Thank you very much, pal.
But historically high inflation ramped up cost of living pressures on Americans, and his approval rating slumped after the United States' chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan and the Taliban's return to power.
I was not going to extend this forever war, and I was not extending a forever exit.
Joe Biden set about restoring America's relationships with allies and strengthened the NATO alliance in the wake of Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
He thought the West and NATO wouldn't respond. He thought he could divide us at home, but Putin was wrong. We are ready.
But as the conflict dragged on, support for Ukraine within Congress fell, and the president was soon dealing with another foreign war. The October 7 attacks by Hamas prompted Israel's months-long bombardment of Gaza, and waves of protests against Joe Biden's support for the Israeli government. Donald Trump made a political comeback by sweeping the Republican primaries, despite being charged in 4 criminal cases, setting up a 2020 rematch. The president pointed to his predecessor's handling of the January 6 attack and his criminal conviction in New York to argue he wasn't fit for office. But his own family was again drawn into the spotlight when his son Hunter Biden was found guilty of gun offences.
He has overcome an addiction. He's one of the brightest, most decent men I know.
And the self-described gaffe machine, with a long history of verbal slip-ups, came under increasing scrutiny over his capacity to do the job. Those concerns escalated when the president was described by a federal prosecutor as coming across as a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory.
I'm well-meaning and I'm an elderly man and I know what the hell I'm doing. I've been president and I put this country back on its feet.
And they reached fever pitch after major stumbles in the first presidential debate of the 2024 campaign.
Everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
The president tried to limit the fallout.
I don't debate as well as I used to. But I know what I do know. I know how to tell the truth.
But as pressure mounted, tough decisions were made.